The House has before it House Bill 1263, which has been read. Mr. Chief Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1263 was introduced by Representatives M. Nelson and Schneider. House Bill 1263 is a bill for an act to amend and reenact Section 34-06-22 of the North Dakota Century Code relating to the state's minimum wage. Mr. Speaker, this has a fiscal note prepared by the Office of Management and Budget. Their analysis indicates additional expenditures in the general fund for the 2017-2019 biennium of $1,600,000 and in the other funds category $2,400,000. The same amounts apply to the 2019-21 biennium. Mr. Speaker, your Industry, Business, and Labor Committee recommends do not pass on House Bill 1263 by a vote of 12 yeas, 2 nays, and 0 absent not voting. Mr. Speaker.
Representative Bosch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly, your Committee on Industry, Business, and Labor recommends a do not pass on HB 1263. House Bill 1263 proposes to raise the minimum wage from the current rate of $7.25 to $9.25 per hour. Additionally, the bill provides a yearly cost of living increase based on the rise of the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index is a measurement of prices paid by consumers for a defined basket of goods and services and is commonly used to determine the change in the cost of living. Currently, North Dakota's minimum wage matches the federal minimum wage rate. Representatives of the North Dakota Department of Labor confirmed that if the federal rate would be adjusted, the North Dakota rate would also follow. Today, there are 21 states whose minimum wage follows the federal wage rate. In committee, we heard significant testimony regarding the pluses and minuses for raising the rate. Supporters of the bill felt the increase would reduce the need for public assistance, provide more disposable income, and give an economic boost to the state. Those not in support, which included the Greater North Dakota Chamber and the North Dakota Retail Association, testified that for a business to be successful, it must pay its employees a competitive wage to maintain the skilled, motivated, and experienced workforce it requires to be relevant in the marketplace. Those not in support also felt that increasing the minimum wage limits the opportunities for those joining the workforce in entry-level positions and those with limited skills. Others spoke of the impact that bumping the wages of the less experienced worker has on other employees' wages and the difficult balancing act that this forces on the employer. A fiscal note was presented that showed a fiscal impact of approximately $4 million, with the majority of the costs coming from additional wages for higher education employees who are providing work-study services. After consideration, your Industry, Business, and Labor Committee voted 12-2 to allow the free market and North Dakota's high demand for labor to drive the proper hourly wage rate for our state. Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly, I urge a do not pass on HB 1263. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any discussion? Representative Marvin Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. You know, it's often said there's no one in North Dakota earning minimum wage. Well, here we see, working for the state of North Dakota, there's at least 2 million hours per biennium worked for under minimum wage. If they're getting more than $7.25, there's that many more hours that would be affected by this. Costs went up, tuition went up, rent went up. All that happened without a rise in the minimum wage. Research indicates that we can do this, that we can raise this minimum wage and have minimal, if any, negative effects, and have a good positive effect, one of them being shrinking government. I hear often how dissatisfied people are with our growth in human services budget. People are getting low-income housing assistance, they're getting food stamps, they're getting a lot of different things all affected by this. But don't let yourself think that for a minute that the benefits solely accrue to the poor. Most minimum wages are paid to people in households that are not in poverty. Much of the benefit of this goes to the middle class. And often we hear about a free market. If we have a true free market, then we know where we'll go. There will be no middle class. There will only be serfdom and slavery with a small ruling class. Middle class is a creation of government. And I ask your help in continuing to strengthen the middle class. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Kaiser.
Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly, this bill did have some additional significant issues associated with it. One is that if you read the bill on page 1, it only allows for an annual adjustment, which would result in an increase in the minimum wage. The question was asked during the committee, well, as has happened recently in North Dakota, the state average weekly wage has gone down, so is there an opportunity for that adjustment to go down? But the language in the bill says it may only go up. The second problem that the committee had, or perhaps I should say I had, with the bill was on page 1, lines 19 and 20, that the Commissioner of the Department of Labor would use the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, all items, United States city average. If you track this at all, you would recognize that that is a standard that does not fit North Dakota. When you're paying $10 million for an apartment in Manhattan, that's a whole lot different than the housing costs in Bismarck or Fargo or a rural area of North Dakota, certainly. So, members of the committee or the Assembly, I hope that you will support the direction of the committee and vote a do not pass.
Is there further discussion? The House has before for final consideration House Bill number 1263. The clerk will open the key and you may record your vote. Has every member voted? Do any members wish to change their vote? The key will be closed and the clerk will take the record. Final vote shows 13 yea, 77 nay, 4 absent not voting. House Bill 1263 is declared failed.